ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति सुपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्ते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी शुभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपरिष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ स्वामी नामिने। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपरिष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते वेदांत स्वामी नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी परिचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य तम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्येश्वरम्। हरे कृष्णा। So I'd like to thank all the devotees for participating in this discussion on the Srimad Bhagavad. So before we begin the class, as you may have seen on the messages on the WhatsApp group, which are circulating around, a very uh, concerning news about the health of Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, very senior leaders of the society. So I saw some messages that had a cardiac arrest. Just a few days ago, he had a fall also, and there were some injuries coming from that. I do not know the details of the connection, but looks like he had a cardiac arrest around 2:30 IST today. Uh, and what I hear is he's in a critical state. I mean, that's the last I heard. So, Maharaj is a very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and is has been instrumental in tremendous amount of preaching and book distribution and setting up of numerous temples, especially in the northern part, especially around uh, the NCR region, surrounding areas. So very sweet, very gentle. Uh, I had the good fortune of interacting with a few times. We hope and pray he will, Krishna will, of course, is directly under Krishna's protection. We can request Krishna to, like what Prabhupada has taught us, please allow these great souls to be with us so that we can continue receive their guidance and their inspiration. So let us pray also later in your own individual capacities. Please offer prayers. So we'll start with the discussion for today, and we'll dedicate the discussion for the good health of Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. uh, in a way that will please Krishna and Maharaj the best. Sometimes it's very difficult to know what is Krishna's plan. When Srila Prabhupada was in very delicate health situations, uh, disciples would say, to Prabhupada, no, we will pray that you have to stay. Prabhupada said, no, that is not the right way to pray. Very interesting. In devotional service, we don't force Krishna. We don't put a gun to Krishna's head. Because nobody can put a gun. But I'm saying from an emotional blackmail perspective. Correct. You must do this. So that is not the attitude of a pure devotee. A devotee prays very sincerely and also says, "Oh Krishna, if it will please you." Radharan Maharaj has many times told us this. This is what we genuinely wish. This is what we believe is really what is best. So if it will please you, please allow our spiritual master to remain with us for some time. Ultimately, what is good, what is not good is far beyond the jurisdiction of our tiny brains figure out. This is one of the things as we get more purified and as we mature in spiritual life, one thing we realize that actually we will always know so little, understand so little, realize so little. We are very, very insignificant. Anyway, but of course, as for the best intelligence that we have, we should always try to aim for what we deem is the best as per our God-given intelligence and the guidance of the wise souls around us, and ultimately leave it to Krishna. So we are discussing a very interesting topic, which is also giving so many lessons around this kind of an attitude of surrender. So we discussed in the last few chapters of how uh, this interesting battle between Vritra and Indra, very interesting. Finally, Vritra was killed, and actually he went back to Godhead. He was actually waiting, went on enthusing Indra, chalo, chalo, karo, do your job. You will get what you want, I will get what I want. So he went back to Godhead, and Parikshit Maharaj is like, what is this? Ye kya ho gaya? The story seemed like this guy is the hero and this guy is the villain, but seems like the actual hero is somebody else. For those who are discerning, and he asks in the 14th chapter, which is entitled King Chitraketu's lamentation, he asks that how did uh, Vritra speak the kind of words that he spoke? How did he actually become such an exalted devotee? And in response to that query, this chapter and the next few chapters are actually discussing the past life of Vritra. So that's why it's very difficult. I mean, when we go through this pastime, eventually we should come to this realization. It is so difficult to judge who is who and why a person is what he is today. Sometimes very great souls, when we first meet them, may appear ordinary or subordinary, sometimes even low class. So, of course, the best policy is always to not judge anybody and respect all. This business of judging is dangerous business. We leave that to the infallible Lord and his agent, Yamaraj, and the great pure devotees know exactly what is going on. They are equipped to make a a much more accurate assessment than any of us. But anyway, in this nature, based on what Vritrasur spoke, the way he behaved, because that's how we understand the consciousness of a person. Just because somebody is wearing a saffron cloth or is from an aristocratic family doesn't mean necessarily they're very advanced in consciousness. What is inside comes outside. And all the more so when one is in a very difficult situation. Correct? When something is squeezed, whatever is inside is what comes out. If you have love and devotion, love will come. If you have wisdom, wisdom will come out. If you have frustration, frustration will come out. Bad words will come out. Curses will come out. Everything was well, you messed it up. XYZ. All the other things. So they realized this person is, kind of behavior and the kind of wisdom he has spoken is not something which you typically hear from a demon. What to speak of a demon? Such kind of things you don't even hear from devatas. This is high class wisdom. It's the wisdom of very advanced souls. Parikshit Maharaj is asking that demons are generally sinful. They usually are, affected by Rajogun, Tamogun, do all kinds of nonsense. How is this Vritrasur achieve such pure love, exalted quality of love for the Supreme Personality of God? Generally, demigods are very exalted. They're primarily situated in the mode of goodness. And there are also great sages who are cleansed of material affection, who are pretty detached. Even such personalities, even within such personalities, to find this kind of a love for the lotus feet of Mukunda, what do you see? Even among devatas and purified sages, this quality of love find. And then Parikshit Maharaj gives a very interesting analysis. And that's a very interesting insight that will give us some idea about how rare it is to find a pure devotee. Parikshit Maharaj says, in this world, there are as many living entities as there are Raja. Raja means tiny particles. If you refer to sand, Prabhupada translates this as atoms. As many atoms are there in this universe. That many souls are there. Unlimited. Unlimited. Sometimes we get overly caught up with the 7 billion humans. Just in your own building, wherever you are staying. If you actually were, we will not be able to, but if you were able to count the number of living entities, it will far, 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 far exceed the number of humans on the planet by factors of thousands or more. The number of living entities is just mind-boggling. Of course, there's no number; they're practically unlimited. But if you reflect every insect, every grass, every microscopic organism, limited. There'll be quadrillions potentially within a small space. So Shukdev Goswami says, Parikshit Maharaj says to Shukdev Goswami, there are so many living entities in this material world. Unlimited as there are atoms in this world. And out of these unlimited living entities, small number are human beings. Of course, now it is 7 billion. We think 7 billion is a lot. In those days, the population was much smaller. If I remember correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, at the time of India's independence, I think India's population was much, much, much smaller. Anybody remembers? It was Is it 3, 4
30
crores?
crores.
30,
30
right?
crores. 30,
30
30.
crores. Yeah, 30 crores. But the number of humans is such a tiny fragment of the number of living entities. Very, 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 very small. I cannot even calculate. These are the fortunate species. And out of the 7 billion who have the potential opportunity to do something worthwhile with their life, only a small number are interested in religious principles. And amongst all those who follow religious principles, only there are a few who are mumukshu. Mukshu means they desire liberation. There are so many religious people, but out of the religious people, I'm talking about truly religious people, how many of them are actually seeking liberation? Means they want to go beyond artha, dharma, and kama. They're seeking moksha. And out of thousands and thousands who are seeking moksha, hardly anyone will even attain it. Seeking moksha is one thing, it's good. But seeking and attaining, there is a huge difference. Because moksha is not something which you can buy in the supermarket. You cannot say, I'm billionaire, here is the money, give me moksha, liberation. Nobody can throw at the face of Maya Devi and say, here, tell me, what is your price? What check can I write? I want to get out of material existence. One tight slap and you go spinning for another million kalpas, the cycle of birth. So very few are interested in liberation, and out of those who are interested, hardly few will actually attain liberation after giving up all attachment to society, to wealth, to family, through thorough detachment. And Prabhupada says, and out of thousands of such liberated people, hardly, very difficult to find even a few who actually understand the true meaning of liberation. Because for most people, when they talk about liberation, and this is common amongst those who talk about liberation, if you just go around in India, they will say liberation is freedom from suffering or freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Correct? Moksha. What is moksha? जीवन मृत्यु के संसार से चक्र से बाहर निकलना. But they don't know. If you ask them, और उसके बाद क्या? What after that? They don't understand. That's what the scriptures define. The Bhagavatam defines mukti as mukti hitva anyata rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. Sorry, not the Bhagavatam. This is from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Mukti hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. Mukti is not just about being free from the cycle of birth and death, but understanding and being situated in one's swarupa, original spiritual form. And giving up all anyatha, all this nonsense, imagined identities, giving all that up and being situated in one's constitutional position. What is one's constitutional position? Jivere Swarupoi Krishner Nityadas. That one is eternally a part and parcel and servant of the. It's very rare. Unlimited living entities, small fraction humans, small fraction of that is religious. A further smaller fraction of the religious is interested in liberation. A smaller fraction of those who are interested in liberation attains liberation. Krishna also mentioned this in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yadati siddhaye. Yadatam siddhanam. Chinnam veti tattvataha. To understand me in truth, even amongst the siddhas, those who have attained perfection by transcending the material energy, not everybody understands me as I am. To be situated in proper full swarupa and have full realization of the transcendental reality, There is work beyond moksha. Most people think moksha done. Moksha is like, for those of you who have traveled in Bombay in a local train in peak hour. How many of you have traveled? Put your hand up. Everybody has that experience here. Okay, Santanam Prabhu, I can see. Okay, he's the only one who has that realization. Of course, Amit, I know, even if he doesn't. We have done it together. So, if you have not, someday you should try at your own risk. Otherwise, it may be a traumatic experience and you'll say, Prabhuji, you have scarred us for life. I don't want any such accusations. A crowded train, finally, somehow, so difficult to get in is equally difficult to come out once you get in. Finally, somehow with your bags and clothes and your phone, somehow manage to get out onto the platform. Moksha, I'm liberated from this mess. But that is not the end, of your journey. You have just got down on the platform. You have got down on the platform of Brahma Bhuta. Brahma Bhuta means the platform of Brahman. You just come out of a miserable situation. Now from the platform, you have to go out, no? You have to go somewhere, no? There is some journey. There is some destination. So getting out of misery is step one. Then being situated on the Brahman platform. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Samas sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. This is in the Bhagavad Gita. When a person comes to Brahman platform, he is neither desiring, hankering, nor lamenting. Basically, it means he has become indifferent to material pleasure. It's not hankering, he's not, whatever is happening, he's not bothered. At that stage, one becomes liberated because one stops performing material activity. So one comes out from the diseased condition, but then one has to improve his health in the positive direction, which is by cultivating positive activities at the Brahma Bhuta platform. At the Brahma Bhuta platform, Krishna says, Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. If you want my Para Bhakti, my transcendental devotion, it begins from the Brahman platform. Because before the Brahman platform, it is Gunamayi Bhakti. Mixed with Rajagun, Tamagun. In the 11th canto of the Bhagavad, Krishna explains to Uddhav, Bhakti mixed with Tamogun, Bhakti mixed with Rajogun, Bhakti mixed with Sattvagun, and Parabhakti. Parabhakti. Bhakti proper means Parabhakti, begins after liberation. It doesn't need us to die. We can achieve that Parabhakti even while we are in this body. Sometimes some people have decided, oh, only after I die. Looking forward to dying is not our philosophy. Experience of the highest aspect or experience of a transcendental state or heaven or whatever we may call it. You don't have to wait to die or to die or do something which will lead to it. Can be experienced within this body also. So Shukdev Goswami is being told by Parikshit Maharaj, it's so rare. So rare. And why he's saying this? It is so rare. Then he quotes one very nice verse. It's a very, very famous verse. I've quoted this multiple times. It is from this chapter. Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana durlabha shantatma mutishu api mahamuni. Verse 5 of this chapter. That to find a person thoroughly dedicated at a transcendental level to Lord Narayan is so hard to find. Is extremely hard to find even amongst millions. Koti means 10 million. Crores and crores of liberated and perfected souls, siddhas. This is again another place where it is established that these pure transcendental devotees are at a higher platform than the liberated and the siddhas. Muktanam api siddhanam. Not trying to become mukta. Mukta, liberated souls. Find one devotee, pure devotee of Lord Narayana is sudurlabha. Because these kind of pure devotees are prashant. Prashant. Prashant is a very common first name in India. What does Prashanta mean? Shanta means to be peaceful. In material life, there is no peace. Peace begins with liberation. True peace, huh? Not temporary. I saw a movie, I felt so nice. I spent some time on the beach and for holiday, I felt so nice. Then again come and again become miserable. We're talking about sustained Shanti. Liberation is the beginning of sustained peace. So what is the difference between Shanta and Prashanta? Anyone knows? Any Sanskrit expert?
Maybe it's a consistent peace, Prashant. Just guesswork.
No. So Prashanta pra stands for that prefix stands for Prakhara Rupena Shanta. Prakhara Rupena means an intense form of peace. Prakhara. The peace of the liberated soul and the peace that the devotee has in the realization of his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is at a totally different level. Narayan Parayana's peace is at a totally different level. Prashantatma, Sudurlabha, very hard to find. Even go to the abode of the Siddhas, you go to Janarlok, Moharlok, Siddhalok. There also you go with a torch. Narayan Parayana, Narayan Parayana. It's not written on the head, but go around looking with the right interview questions. Figure out who is who. Even if there was such a questionnaire, you will struggle. Even cover all the fingers on your hand. Find Narayan. And having said this, Parikshit Maharaj is telling Shukadev Goswami, this Vritrasur, he was in the middle of the battle. And look at his background, an infamous, sinful demon who was troubling, well, killed so many of our Devata warriors, causing so much trouble and anxiety. How can such a demon be so greatly Krishna conscious? I just spoke about the rarity of Narayan Parayana. This guy is defying all logic. This Vritrasur in battle, he even shocked Indra. It was so extraordinary. And how did he achieve this kind of a great devotion to the Supreme Personality? This contradiction is causing a lot of doubts in my mind. So please, Gurudev, Gurudev Goswami, Gurudev, please dispel my doubts. So whenever a devotee gets confused, then he's unable to understand and resolve, then they ask questions to this, either to the initiating or the instructing spiritual masters or to other seniors. I'm not able to figure out why like this and like this. Then a higher understanding is expected. So Shukadev Goswami then starts answering the question with great affection. Shukadev Goswami is very happy when he's posed with questions because he knows that, Shukadev Goswami Parikshit Maharaj is truly interested in having a deeper and deeper understanding. So he tells Parikshit Maharaj that I will now tell you the history of who this Vritrasur was. I have heard this history myself from great souls like Vyasa, great souls like Narada Muni, great souls like the Devala Rishi. From them I have heard the history of this Vritrasur. Since you've asked this question, to understand the answer to this question, you have to understand the history of Dhritarashtra. So now I'm going to narrate to you. Please listen attentively. So now the story begins. So Shukdev Goswami narrates, he says, long back there was a kingdom of a province known as Shurasena, where there was a very pious king, very powerful, very beautiful king by the name of Chitraketu, the entire earth. And he was such a dharmic ruler that during his reign, everybody was happy. All the necessities of life were provided. Prabhupada makes a very interesting comment. He says it is so important that the Raja be dharmic, the leader of a country be dharmic. Because if the leader of the country is dharmic, then the demigods and material nature will give the necessities of life, that kingdom. Otherwise, it holds back. That's why Krishna was always keen, dharmic ruler. Vibhishan, not Ravan. Yudhishthir, not Duryodhan. We have discussed this topic earlier, so I'm not going to go into that again in detail. But Prabhupada specifically mentions this. Now, the interesting thing about this Chitraketu is that he had extraordinary power, opulence, obviously, ruler of the whole kingdom. Everything well, very handsome, full of vitality, energy. But one big problem, not about election, not about votes. All his subjects loved him. Only one big problem. He had no son, no child. And that point was hurting him so much that even with all his opulence, with his beauty, his opulence, his magnanimity, his high family, high education, he couldn't find any happiness. He was always in anxiety because of this one problem. This is the nature of material existence. To be happy in material life, Radhanand Maharaj would mention this. I still remember this point because it struck me very strongly. To be happy in material life, everything must be proper in all aspects of life. Good job, good family, good spouse, good children, good neighbors, good country, good city, good health, good internet connection. And I can add to this list, but I think you get the idea. Everything has to be good. Be happy and shant. But become miserable. If one of these things goes wrong, it is sufficient to make that person so miserable that all the other 9,999 things which are wonderful, he cannot enjoy. This is the way material nature is designed. And this is the way the material mind is, that when one thing goes wrong, the mind will focus on the wrong and forget all the wonderful things it has and become miserable. So Chitraketu Maharaj was very miserable. Oh, alas, I don't have a child. What is the use of this kingdom? Who will I pass this to? Huh? Not only that, who will deliver me and the ancestors after we pass away? Who will do the Pindodaka Kriya? Was lamenting, I may end up in hell because of any mistakes that I may have committed. My forefathers, all of us will suffer. In previous ages, people were very, very, very sensitive to this. Huh? That the generation has to go on and these rituals have to be performed. And it is our obligation to our ancestors, for ourselves also and also to our ancestors. So he was very, very upset. And when he wouldn't get a child, he had a wife, a very beautiful, very qualified wife by the name of Kritadyuti. When she was unable to give him a child, he married another lady. She didn't conceive. Then he married another one. She didn't conceive. Got more frustrated. Married another one. From four to five, five to six, six to seven, five, eight, five. The Bhagavatam said he had millions of wives, but couldn't have even one child. Obviously, he had a lot of patience. He never thought that I have a problem. So he became very, very anxious. Even though these wives were very qualified, very beautiful, very attractive, neither the wives would attract his mind nor the kingdom. He was not able to focus on anything. Then one day, suddenly, a great sage, Angira Muni is directly the son of Lord Brahma, was traveling all over the universe, suddenly appeared the palace of King Chitraketu. These are great sages. Angira, Narad Muni, Parvat Muni, they are able to fly around at will. They are Siddha. They have mystic powers. Obviously, Angira Rishi, it appeared as if he came by chance. He was roaming around, he happened to be here, he came. Angira Muni, being a very highly advanced soul, he knew what was actually going on. And he wanted to help Maharaj Chitraketu in a very unique way. And we'll see how. So as soon as Angira Rishi entered the assembly of Maharaj Chitraketu, as was customary, he got up from his simhasan, he approached the sage, he made him sit down, he washed his feet, he offered him water, he offered him eatables, he served him nicely, he sat at the feet. The simhasan is given to the sadhu and the king sits at the sadhu's feet. This is our culture. This is Sanatan Dharma. The king is always Go Brahmana Pratipalaka on behalf of the Lord. As a representative of the Lord, he is supposed to serve and protect the cows and the Brahmins. Angira Muni, of course, knew what was actually the reason of the despondency of Maharaj Chitraketu. But acting as if he didn't know anything, he looked at the king and said, "Oh, king, I hope everything is good. Hope everything is going on well." Correct? Typically, that's how we start a conversation, right? Even if we know something is not good, we don't directly come to that point. सब ठीक है ना? चाहे नौकरी धंधा, फैमिली, कारोबार. I mean, rich people will say like this. What poor people will say? खाना हो गया ना? यानी when he says yes, हो गया means at least he has enough to feed himself. So in villages, that's how they will ask. Otherwise, pure. The stomach is full. Then life is not too bad for you. So he says, is your mind peaceful? Is everything okay in your kingdom, your paraphernalia, your royal associates? Very interesting thing he says, but I'll not go into the detail of everything. Please read the chapter in detail. And this makes a very interesting statement that a king is always protected by 7 dimensions or 7 elements. His spiritual master, who is his instructor, his ministers, his kingdom, his fortifications, his treasury, his royal order, and his friends. So, hope all these 7 aspects in your case are all fine. So, I mean, he says quite a few things, but essentially, he tells eventually after asking multiple questions, comes to the point and he asks a pointed question to the king. Oh, Chitraketu Maharaj, I see that your mind is not very pleased. Seems that you have not achieved what you wanted to achieve. Is this because of something lacking on your side, or is somebody causing you disturbance? Your pale face is revealing that there is some deep anxiety in your heart. Prabhupada always says, face is the index of the mind. So when we look at somebody, we know he's in a good mood, bad mood, happy, distressed, miserable, angry, frustrated. Shows. So Prashanta also is seen on this face. Frustrated is also deep anxiety is also seen. So Maharaj Chitraketu was also very pious, very elevated soul. And he knew that even though Angira Muni is asking him so many questions, uh, Angira Muni actually knew uh, what was the real reason, because he knows he's a Siddha. He can understand what is going on in my mind. That's why I said one should never lie or try to hide something from the spiritual master. Spiritual master knows what is going on in our mind. I'm talking especially of those who are very advanced souls. They say they can immediately catch if they are lying, because they know. That's why one should always be truthful in front of great souls. So Chitraketu Maharaj says that he becomes very humble. Oh Maharaj Angira, oh great sage Angira, that's a great, that's such great austerity. You are a Siddha, you are great in your knowledge, you are absorbed in transcendental realization. You have nothing to do with any kinds of sins. You are thoroughly freed. You are Amalatma. Such a perfect yogi. You know everything. You know exactly what is happening in my heart. You know exactly what is my problem. Everything inside and outside of all living entities, you know. But since you have asked me, I know you already know what is my problem. But since you have asked me, I will answer your question as you have requested me. And then he reveals the reason that just as a person who's very hungry and thirsty, somebody comes very hungry and thirsty to your house. Come, sit on the sofa. And then he says, no, I'm very hungry. Wait. You come, you give him a nice garland of flowers. He says, no, I'm hungry. No, you come, no, wait. You bring sandalwood pulp. He is crying from inside, Arey, give me food and water. He says, no, I'm bringing Aarti plate to do Aarti for you. I love you so much. Maharaj Chitraketu says, as a person who's very hungry and thirsty, and somebody is offering him instead garland and sandalwood pulp, my condition has become like that. I want something else, and I have so many other things I have. None of them are giving me happiness. This hunger and thirst, have a child, especially a son, is so strong that I can't find any happiness in anything. Neither my empire, or my opulence, or my possessions. The kind of opulence that I have is enviable even for the demigods. I rule the entire earth. Just because of this one thing, I have no son. Everything is spoiled. So please, oh great say, save me and save all my ancestors. We will all descend into hell for our son. If we don't have a son who will offer the pinda to us. So please do something so that I will have a son. Save us from a hellish condition. He becomes desperate and he begs at the lotus feet. Prashant Atma. He feels compassionate towards him. He knows exactly what is happening. He knows what is Maharaj Chitraketu's desire, his frustration. He also knows what is Maharaj Chitraketu's karma. Because there's a particular karma because of which he's experiencing like this. But now Maharaj Chitraketu is so hell-bent that he wants something which is not actually destined for him. But he says, no, I must help him in some way. So he says, okay, king, uh, I will perform a yajna for you. So please help me to arrange for a yajna. And he performed a sacrifice where he poured a special kind of sweet rice, Twasta, a great sage, the Rishi Twasta. Twasta is the sage from whom uh, the, the Narayan Kavacha came. Remember in the previous discussions? Yeah. So after performing this wonderful yajna, the remnants of the food, the payasam, the sweet rice, that yajna, Angira Muni told Maharaj Chitraketu that you give this to your queen whom you want to conceive a child. Very excitedly, Maharaj Chitraketu went to his primary queen, Kritadyuti, gave her the sweet. And Angira Muni told the king that now, once you feed the sweet rice to your queen, you will have a son who will give you Harsha Shoka. Harsha Shoka means Harsha means happiness, Shoka means misery. Harsha Shoka. Both jubilation and lamentation. He just said that. He didn't wait for the king to answer him, ask him why, what, nothing. He just mentioned that and he left. The son was called Harsha Shoka. It is as if Angira Muni named him Harsha Shoka. And the king was thinking, maybe the Muni meant, he will give me happiness. Maybe he'll give me some pain. What kind of a pain the child can give me? Maybe he may be a bit mischievous, like some children are. Or maybe he'll not listen to me. He'll be naughty. All that is okay. At least I have a son. Never mind. Some trouble. No problem. But let me, at least I have a son. So then he forgot about that Harsha Shoka thing and he became absorbed in his son. As soon as the son, in due course, the son was born, whole kingdom was so delighted that he was happy. The duty, everyone in the palace was happy. The whole kingdom was celebrating. Everybody was happy. Maharaj Chitraketu, when the son was born, said he gave tons and tons of charity, as was customary in those times. He purified himself. He engaged the Brahmanas to chant mantras and give blessings. So much charities. Gold, silver, garments, ornaments, villages, horses, elephants. He said he gave 60 crore cows in charity. 60 crore cows. You think from where 60 crore cows will come? Please understand, he was the ruler of the whole planet. It is said in India, now this is, I'm talking about 75 years ago, the ratio of humans to cows in India, this is not, this is documented information. The ratio of humans to cows in India was 1:5. There were 5 cows for every human in India. Not very long ago, huh? We're talking about 75 to 100 years ago. So if you say at the time of independence there were 30 crore humans, so how many cows were there in India? Into 5, 150 crores. And this is Kali Yuga 100 years ago. We are talking about the planet. It's long, long, long. It's a very, very ancient history. So tremendous amount of charity was given. The king was so happy, so happy, so happy. Finally, he felt everything fulfilled. Now I am the happy man. Jai. I have it all. This is the very dangerous thing. Huh? Think, yes, I have finally done it. I have finally achieved it. Please don't say like that. Otherwise, you will immediately gather Maya Devi's attention. Oh, somebody's happy in this world. Means I'm not doing my job properly. Oh, Tarun is happy. And so is Suraj. Suraj is very happy in Bangalore. But my Lord has instructed me this is a place for suffering. So one of the factors I have to twist a bit. Why? Not to make him miserable, but to make us not feel comfortable in material existence so that we look for the ultimate benefit. Mayadevi is the servant of the spirit. So he became very, very happy. Everybody in the kingdom was happy. The child, Harsha Shoka, was getting so much affection. The mother was pouring so much affection. The king, it is said the king was so absorbed in the child, and because you're so absorbed in the child, and because Kritadyuti gave him the child, his eldest queen, he became extremely affectionate towards Kritadyuti. More, his love for Kritadyuti increased, and he started neglecting all his other wives. How many of them? Million wives. Please don't ask me questions on how he kept the million wives. None of that is mentioned in the Bhagavad. But all the other wives were very beautiful, qualified, nice, अच्छे घर की लड़कियां, good royal family, good upbringing. Started becoming very upset. They started feeling neglected. Our husband doesn't love us. The king is not looking at us also. Whenever he has time, he rushes to see Harsha Shoka and then he spends time with Kritadyuti. Previously, at least he was spending time with us. They start becoming more and more and more. First, they are sad and miserable. After that, when this continues more and more and more, and they start experiencing neglect, they start feeling that they're treated worse than maid servants. Then their envy in their heart that we don't have children. She has a child, and that is why she's dear. Becomes more and more and envy is such a thing, it can pollute the intelligence of even people from good families who are very cultured. Matsar, envy. Envy is is the name of jealousy at a very intense level. Jealousy is just feeling, oh, why this happened to him? Why not to me? That is jealousy. What is envy? When jealousy reaches a point that you actually want to harm the other person and hurt him, that becomes envy. That is known as envy. Active jealousy is envy, where you are actually trying to hurt and harm the object of your envy. So when their envy became ultimately strong, they started discussing amongst themselves what to do, what to do. They couldn't figure out what to do. Then they finally concluded that the root cause of the king not looking towards us is this boy. If this boy is not there, all our problems will get solved. So all these queens conspired amongst themselves. And one day when this Harsha Shoka was sleeping, rocking in his cradle, quietly went and fed poison to this small, tiny baby. And within a few moments, the child died. Of course, they ran away, pretended as if they had no idea. The maid servant, after some time, the queen Kritadyuti, अरे अभी तक तो बच्चा उठ जाना चाहिए था. My child should have gotten up by now. He usually needs milk. He's not She sent the maidservant, go and have a look. Why my child is sleeping so long? She went to see the child. As soon as she went there, she saw the child's eyes rolled up like a dead person's. She screamed and fell down. I am doomed. Alas, what has happened? Maidservant started beating her chest loudly and saying, oh, alas, alas. Jean heard what has happened. She came running. She came and saw, and she is that her small baby child, Harsha Shoka, is lifeless. She became overwhelmed with grief. Her hair went in disarray. She fell to the ground unconscious. All the other maid servants come running, and the news started spreading like wildfire. There was just terrible screaming and agony all over the place. The news reached all the other queens who had conspired. They also started crying. Oh, they were pretending as if they had no idea. Oh, this happened. Alas, alas. They were crying the loudest. The thief cries the loudest, right? What happened? What happened? This shouldn't have happened. How did this happen? Chitraketu Maharaj found out much commotion. What is there when he came to know? He, the Bhagavatam says he almost became blind out of grief. It is said extreme grief can even cause blindness. I have not heard of these things. I don't know of any such situation, but blinding grief. It's like, the lamentation gripped him like a blazing fire. He went and saw the dead child. Even as he was going along the way, even after hearing he was slipping and falling, getting up, trying to, the ministers and others were trying to hold him up, and finally he reached the cradle and he held the child's feet and fell unconscious. His hair and clothes, everything scattered. Breathing heavily, lamenting, he regained his consciousness, full of tears. The queen saw the king saw the queen. Our only happiness, our son, Harsha Shoka is gone. So Angira Muni was speaking about this Shoka. Angira Muni was speaking about the Shoka that your son will be short-lived. Why short? Because he was not destined to have a son. He was forcing a son into his destiny uh, by arm twisting the system. That also it backfires. Then it is said both the king and the queen started cursing destiny. The king says, what is this? This is not fair. Oh, Vidhata, what kind of world you have made? What kind of. So when suffering comes, people all become wise sages. They start giving justice lessons to God. Start saying, what is this? A son is not supposed to die in the presence of this father. Kind of creative laws you have created. You should know better. This is not right. It is said, for example, in the time of Ramchandra's rule, it would never happen like this. A son would never die in the presence of his father. Never. It was Ramraj. You may say, oh, Vidhata, that this is because of karma, but this is not right. This is not fair. You should not do like this. Because if you do like this and allow the children to die, then people will lose faith in taking care of children and, nourishing them and feeding them if they are eventually going to die and they have to suffer the pangs. So you don't know, you are not a good person to design the system nicely. So like that, they were going on finding fault with God, finding fault with God's system, God's laws. So this is typical of a person who is materialistic. When things don't go his way, then they become uh, uh, critics of God and the way the system is designed. So as they were lamenting and cursing the system, criticizing Vidhata, simultaneously remembering their son, oh my dear son, when again will I hear your sweet voice? You have closed your eyes forever. You have left us. Why did you leave us? We love you so much. As they were lamenting like this, and their lamentation reached their peak, Angira Muni, who had visited them a year or so ago, understanding what is going on, because he's a Siddha, he knows what is going on. Understanding what is going on, he knew, I have only given him first dose of medicine, Chitraketu. Now it's time for booster dose. So Angira Muni again appeared as if suddenly the palace of King Chitraketu. But this time he didn't go alone. He took Narada Muni with him. So Angira Muni, Narada Muni, in this state where the king and the queen and everybody was lamenting and blaming destiny, blaming the laws of nature, a mood of utter frustration, that situation, Gira Rishi and Narada Muni reached the palace of Maharaj Chitraketu. So this is where the chapter concludes. That's why this chapter is entitled King Chitraketu's Lamentation. Okay. So what happens next? How the next booster dose is delivered? Chitraketu. See, this is the wonderful thing. An encounter with a truly exalted sage is never futile. So Angira Muni was not somebody who will just leave Chitraketu. हो गया ना? समझ में आया? I told you it is not in your destiny. You forced me. Got it? Abhi bhugat. Now you suffer your own destiny. This is not how great sages are always interested in how to transform the consciousness of the conditioned souls who are attached to matter to bring them to a higher platform, to pull them up. That is the compassion. Okay, so that brings us to the conclusion of this chapter. So please read this very sweet chapter. It's 10:05, so I'm going to open up the floor. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes,
One
Prabhu.
generic question, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Someone takes into devotional service, serious devotional service, 20 generations is relieved, right? I mean, uh,
For a pure devotee, 21 generations are delivered. His own 10 up and 10 down.
yeah, so
For a
my
pure devotee. Samadhikari.
yeah, so 10 up, I understood, Prabhu, because 10 down, if somebody is not practicing devotional service, let's take down the line 10, right? Then how they are going to get delivered?
No, they will get delivered in the sense that they will be delivered can see eventually they'll be brought to Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
So delivered doesn't mean delivered for the subsequent generations means their children, children's children,
Yeah, if they are
grandchildren.
not Krishna conscious, then how are they getting delivered?
They will get delivered by bringing them to Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
So delivery is not just about you know just picking them up and placing them in Vaikuntha. It's not that kind of deliverance. Deliverance means that the Lord will free them from the sins and give them the right blessings, to give them the sukruti to get the opportunity to associate with the right saints, to be able to develop faith and take to the practice of Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
those who have already taken sincerely to the path of Krishna consciousness in all earnestness, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that we can almost say they are liberated. He says, I can write and say they are liberated. Even though you may say, Are, where they are liberated here? They are still, Suraj is still practicing. How can I say Suraj is liberated? Santanam is practicing, Vinaji is practicing. How come they are liberated? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, once that strong faith comes and the practice is there, it is so guaranteed that if one achieves the association of pure devotees and begins his practice, it is so guaranteed that he'll be liberated that we can almost like write he's liberated upfront. Just like you sit in a flight, no? The flight takes off from Bombay to Dubai, for example. It takes off. Flight has taken off, guaranteed he's going to reach Dubai. He's already in the flight. The flight is flying.
Yeah.
Even though he's still over Arabian Sea. पहुंच गया दुबई. अभी they're in Dubai only. In that sense.
Yes.
It's guaranteed. So on the flight is going there only. He's surrounded by people. The captain is there of the ship, spiritual master. The devotees are there. Prasadam is being served. Kirtan is going on. In that association, there may be some inconveniences in the material world, all that. As long as he sticks to the process, maintains faith. So that is why the greatest blessing is to get association of great souls and develop faith and take to the practice of Krishna consciousness. Because that guarantees liberation.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So this is guaranteed. So I remember once I was talking to my spiritual master. I think it was just me and him. It was in his room. And, I was discussing something with him, and it was in regards to my parents. I had some challenges and difficulties and something, and suddenly, out of the blue, out of the blue in the sense, I wasn't expecting that. It was in the context of that conversation. But Maharaj said something very interesting. He said, Gaur Chandra, I guarantee you that your parents will become devotees. And then when he saw that I had disbelief, he said 100% will become devotees. So there is some very special blessing which comes to those who are connected in earnestness the path of pure devotional service. Sometimes it may be seen by us, sometimes it may happen in ways which is unseen to us and may not be apparent. But we must accept the words of Shastra, Guru, that very, very powerful blessing will come. So the way Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explains, he says that if a person is a Kanishta Adhikari, 3 generations are delivered. His own, 1 down, 1 up. A person becomes a Madhyam Adhikari, then 7 generations are delivered. 3 down, 3 up, and 1 his own. If a person becomes an Uttam Adhikari, then 21 generations are delivered. 10 down, 10 up, and his own. So it's now up to you. You meaning all of us, how many we can deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, who was next, Tarun?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have actually a couple of questions. So first question is general one. So when we basically go through the Bhagavatam, different cantos, starting from Nemi Maharaj and others, so Earth is being ruled by different dynasties and their children, and correspondingly the different rulers were there. So is there any scripture reference where the king is being elected by the democracy and he was the king? So democratically elected king was there as per the scripture. Just wanted to check.
I'm not aware of, at least on top of my mind, any such scenario. But one thing we see across the scriptures multiple times, that it was always expected that the king be qualified.
Yes.
That just by being the son, there have been instances in history where the king has nominated somebody other than his own son to be the king because they found their own son lacking.
Okay.
So, and I'll not go into those details. There are many stories, even in the case, it was not exactly this scenario. Anyway, but I'll not go into those stories now. We'll get distracted. But there are instances of that kind. There are instances where the king was not from that dynasty, but was from another dynasty. Uh, but the scriptures do not uh, specifically promote democracy. Uh, Rather, they promote the ideal system to be a dharmic king guided by elevated transcendentalists. That is the ideal system. And the reason is very simple. The king has to be dharmic,
Yes.
and the king has to be guided by proper wisdom. If you ask people, may not be smart, dharmic, religious, to elect a king, who they will elect? They will elect a person who will simply satisfy their own needs according to their own lower level of consciousness. If you go to I'm just giving you an example. If you go to a small village where 80% of the families are drunkards, the men are drunkards, and you ask them to elect a leader, will they elect the priest as the leader or will they elect a drunkard amongst them to be the
Drunkard for sure.
obviously.
Mhm.
So, so it may sound as a very liberal system, but it is not a very intelligent system in the best welfare of the people in general, democracy. But why it is like that? That's a very big topic. Discuss that another day,
Sure.
not here. But yeah, so unfortunately, right now, it's not the best thing, and that's why see that's why votes are bought. That's why sinful people get elected. Because at the end of the day, uh, the leader represents the collective consciousness of the praja in a democracy. They are responsible. If they don't know, if people don't know what is good for them, how can they elect? And the vast majority of people don't know, especially in Kali Yuga. They don't know what is dharma. They don't know what is desirable in life. What they want, freebies. If you electricity, this guy is good. Give me free travel in bus. Oh, this guy is good. He says, I will transfer wealth from rich to all the poor. Oh, this is a good idea. So when you have this low level of thinking amongst the masses and they get swayed by this, what can you expect that they will elect? To be able to elect also requires people who are for every right has to be earned, right? How can the vote of or opinion of a sinful, illiterate person be same as a very educated, very virtuous person? Does it make sense? No, right? So there are many challenges and flaws. Anyway, that's a very vast topic. But no, generally not. If anybody remembers any example from scriptures which indicates a kind of a democratic setup, you can let me. At least not on top of my head. Maybe in over the last 1,000 years there may have been some examples, but I'm talking about ancient history. Yeah, a
Yeah.
Puranic history. Okay.
No. Yes, yes, Prabhu, that's clear. Prabhuji, another question which I was having about the Guru Vasistha, is it a post Prabhu or is it a person which will live for the entire Kalpa, or what is the duration? Uh, Sorry, Prabhu, my throat is little more good. So Guru Vasist is a post or is a just a person on that post for a long time?
He's a person.
Mhm.
He's a person. So the Sapta Rishis are post, but the persons who are the Sapta Rishis change in every Manvantara.
So for Guru Vasisht, the duration will be 1 mantra. Is this right?
As a Saptarishi, but I do not know what his age is and where is he. Maybe in the higher planets now.
Okay.
Maybe Janar Mahar Parlok. I do not know. One of these higher planets, possibly. Uh, yeah.
It's clear.
So his Vashishta was his name, as far as I know.
Which is just one last question I have about Kalki Maharaj. So in every Chaturyug is in the last Chaturyug when Kalyug was there, so Kalki Maharaj was there or it is not yet born?
I believe so. Every Kali Yuga end, an incarnation of the Lord will come and destroy the sinful and bring about transition to Satya Yuga. Whether he's known as Kalki in every Kali Yuga end, I'm not 100% sure, but possibly so.
Okay. This is the question. So thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Puja Mataji, you're on mute. I can't hear you. Your sound is not coming through. Mic has some issue.
Is my sound audible now?
Now it's okay.
Yeah. So, Prabhuji, my question is basically on the Jain religion. So, as we studied in the Canto 5th, uh, like there was Rishabh Dev, who is the incarnation of Vishnu only, and the follower of Rishabh Dev, there was a king Arihant. On his name, means on his name or like a follower of King Arihant, there was a religion made Jain religion. So that we have studied already. So now recently I have been watching a video where Jain means business in Karnataka, one of the businessman wife and 11 years old son, they have taken a diksha. So what they are saying as per their religion, they are also seeking for the liberation. But as per their religion, if you have taken the diksha, meaning you will get the liberation, and you are on the journey to attain not attain the God, to become a God. So as like how we can bridge, because their philosophy also more or less same, means if you have taken diksha, you are free from birth and death cycle, uh, as per their thinking. But we are also thinking that if we at the time of death, if we remember Krishna, we will get the liberation. We are also thinking in the same way. But after taking diksha, can you get the liberation? Is it for sure? And how it is good that without because child is only 11 years old, and he doesn't know anything as of now at this age, and and such a critical path, because for them like 5 principles they have to follow: ahimsa, they have to just do the
Yeah.
complete sacrifice for everything, cloth, everything. So that will be very much critical path for them.
So
And that too,
Diksha, yeah. No, I get the gist of your question. So essentially,
mm,
Diksha, I'm not talking specifically about their tradition, but even in our tradition, Diksha is the beginning. Yeah. So it is like admission. Of course, the general expectation is whoever is admitted into a college will graduate, but that doesn't guarantee graduation. You can always abandon college and run away. Right? So you can get admitted, but never come to classes, have no attendance, and drop out. So many things are possible. But yes, generally, the point that is being said, and that is what we emphasize, is that once a person starts spiritual life, the point is, even though he may, for a short while, get distracted, still because of the samskara, so Bhagavad Gita says also, right? Even if he goes away, even if he falls down, again very soon he will come back and continue his journey, because the samskar of that desire to become liberated is a very strong, evolved, deep impression of the consciousness. Yeah. Of course, Diksha is a very generic term. It's an initiation term. Diksha can mean different. There are thousands of types of Diksha. So when we speak about Diksha, we are talking about receiving the seed of pure devotional service from a pure devotee, and developing transcendental faith. So even the ceremony of in universities, even in university, Diksha is known as the beginning, and the convocation ceremony is known as Dikshanta, the end of Diksha. So Diksha basically is initiation, the beginning of a process. So each system has its own process. They have their own understanding of what is supreme. Of course, the Jain system doesn't agree with the system of the Bhagavad. They have a twisted interpretation of the teachings of Rishabdev. They have overly emphasized the austerity and renunciation aspects. They actually have no concept of God. They don't say they become God. They have no concept of God. They have some concept of liberated souls. Uh, and they have some common teachings like the Sanatan tradition, because it came from there. But obviously, we do not accept that their path can lead to liberation the way we talk about liberation, which is uh, even Brahma Nirvana, even liberation in the supreme level. So we don't accept that their practice can lead to that. Yes, austerity and various other practices can lead to purification to a considerable degree and achieve high levels of detachment, attainment, even development of mystic powers and so on. And it is possible. But to actually transcend material energy in our system, we say, without accepting the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, it is not possible to transcend Maya. So these individuals can come very high, but they will not be able to cross the line.
Halviash, you better study when you go Australia. So I don't think you can lepak.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is, of course, I don't want to comment on what they do to an 11-year-old boy and all that. Yeah, generally, generally Diksha is a serious business which should be accepted by those who understand the responsibility that comes with it. But there are always exceptions where certain individuals are very evolved from previous lives. Adi Shankaracharya, for example, when he was very young, took sannyas. There have been others, Madhvacharya also, since very young age, he wanted to take sannyas. So there are exceptions. But yes, uh, these are not lightly decisions to be taken lightly, because they affect one's whole life. If one is not mature enough to handle the consequences of these decisions, premature renunciation is also disaster. One should understand. The normal system is brahmachari, grasta, vanaprastha. The path of immediately taking to renunciation very early in life is for a very, very, very small percentage of the population. Those who are already evolved from previous lives. So we cannot pass a generic rule to say, nobody can or nobody can. We just have to say that one has to see the merit of the case, see the evolution of the soul. So in traditional Hindu systems, we also check the horoscope of the child. So is there a renunciation yoga? Is there a sannyas yoga? In fact, in many traditions, they'll not give sannyas unless there is sannyas yoga. in the works. Because these are not things which are easy. For the normal masses, our expectation is brahmachari and then grihastha. Nowadays, of course, there is no proper brahmachari ashram. But after grihastha, at least by 50, step out. So now for all of us, it's not so much about sannyas. It's about can we come out by 50 and not remain entangled in material life. Will we be just looking for other jobs, making more money, playing with grandchildren, or will we be looking at how to devote and dedicate most of our life? We may not need to go into a forest, an ashram necessarily. The question is, can we disentangle and devote our lives to spiritual? For the vast majority of us, this is the ideal we should work towards. A small exception, small percentage will be exceptions. There may be cases where there have been many cases where it has worked. There have been many cases where it has backfired. Especially in Kali Yuga, it's not easy. Because Maya is so strong all around. Okay. Yeah. So let everybody do according to their faith, whatever. We have to make them fortunate by giving them a higher understanding of Krishna consciousness. Eventually, they will become fortunate to develop transcendental faith. Okay?
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hari bol. So you are already fortunate. So you must make others fortunate. Yeah. So just, others may have their opinion. They will have their strong beliefs. Each person has an adhikar based on their background, their upbringing, their past lives. So slowly by exposing them to the transcendental pure devotional service in various ways, it gradually develop the sukriti to develop this faith. So what we can say for sure, like what I mentioned earlier, the point one actually generates faith. And that faith accumulates to the point of taking association of sadhus. And that association of sadhus leads to the point of one taking shelter of the spiritual master and taking initiation in earnest. When that happens, that diksha, that is what we call as true initiation. That is a very, very major point. After that, for a jiva to get altogether lost is very, 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 very rare. That's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says. 99.99% is very soon you will wind up and go back. Very soon. That very soon will be 1 life, 2 life, 5 life, whatever, depending on how intense his practice is. Very soon. So in that sense, even in our parampara, we say if we fully surrender to the spiritual master at the time of initiation, the disciple is considered immediately liberated. So that is in principle. But the point is how many disciples at the time of initiation are fully surrendered. So all these statements need to be qualified. They are not blanket statements. You understand what I'm saying? Right? Correct? Yeah. Diksha Chale Shishya Kare Atma Samarpan is a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. That when the disciple does Atma Samarpan at the time of Diksha, Krishna considers him as good as himself, which means transcendently pure, liberated. But that Atma Samarpan, that full surrender, Diksha is the beginning of that journey. Ideally, that Atma Samarpan should happen at the time of Diksha. But the reality is, it begins with Diksha and develops over many years, sometimes over many lifetimes to culminate in actual full surrender. Understand what I'm saying? So, guarantee is there when one is fully surrendered. But as soon as one is connected in earnest and has come to the point of taking initiation from a pure devotee, one is already considered very close to the end line. It's like you have landed, now you have to get past immigration to enter the country. Correct? You understand? You're close. You have already given up so many things, done so much practice. Very close, but still have to cross. And that visa stamp, that stamp from the immigration officer, doesn't come unless when Krishna's blessings are there. Yeah, I don't know whether this helped you to understand. Yeah, is it okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, it will help. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you all very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki, Jai Samavita Gaura Bhakti ki, Jai. Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.